FLoC is being blocked, the US government hits Russia with sanctions, and the FBI hacks into vulnerable exchange servers. All that coming up now on ThreatWire. Greetings! I am Shannon Morse, and this is ThreatWire for April 20th, 2021. This is your weekly summary of the threats to our security, privacy, and internet freedom. I have some big news to share. I'm so excited. Stay tuned to story number 3 to hear all about it. We have a bunch of hacks and data leaks in the news this week, so let's get right into it. On to the news. Google has been touting their new Federated Learning of Cohorts, or FLoC for short, which is their new technology proposed to replace third-party cookies. These are cookies that chill on domains and websites, which track your activities around the web, and they serve up targeted ads. By blocking third-party cookies, which some browsers already do, ad networks can't serve up those targeted ads. So Google wants to replace these with FLoC, which will let ad networks target specific demographics, but people targeted in ads would remain anonymous. Now, according to Google, FLoC will allow for interest-based ads, but not let advertisers know who you are. You will be lumped in with a cohort. But these cohorts could still be discriminatory and predatory with targeting, and fingerprinting your device could still be an issue, as the EFF has pointed out. So why doesn't Google just do what other browsers have already done and just block those third-party cookies and be done with it? Well, it's because Google makes a ton of money off of advertising, hence replacing those third-party cookies with something else as opposed to blocking them entirely. Many other companies have announced that they will not be using the new FLoC technology due to security and privacy concerns. WordPress, for example, announced that they will block FLoC tracking by default on WordPress websites. WordPress is doing this with about 4 lines of code, issuing an HTTP request header that tells the browser that FLoC is disabled. Now, admins can still enable FLoC tracking on their own sites by editing the code. They do intend to treat it as a security concern and backport this blocking to previous versions of WordPress so websites will not have to update immediately. Browser makers including Vivaldi, Brave, and private search company DuckDuckGo have all rejected FLoC as well, saying the technology will not be introduced to their platforms in any way. Current users of Chrome may find that their own browsers are included in early testing by Google of FLoC as a trial. But the EFF has responded to this by making a tool called amiflocked.org, which will alert you if your browser has FLoC enabled, and it will also show you whatever your FLoC ID is. DuckDuckGo has also introduced a new tool called Privacy Essentials, which is a Chrome extension that will block FLoC on Chrome. Website owners can also issue one line of code as an HTTP request header in order to opt out. FLoC is currently rolling out as a trial to users in several countries, including right here in the United States. The US government and the Biden administration have announced formal accusations against the Russian government and several hacking groups for being the source of the SolarWinds supply chain attack, as well as 5 total critical security issues that are being actively exploited. This isn't the first time Russia's name has been dropped as the perpetrator of the SolarWinds hacks, but these are the first formal accusations that we are seeing. In the brief, the White House explained that the hacker group Cozy Bear, aka Apt29 or the Dukes, was the author of the SolarWinds exploit and was actively carrying out attacks as a part of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, also known as the SVR. This joint advisory about the sanctions was shared by the White House and includes the NSA, CISA, and the FBI warnings about 5 vulnerabilities that the SVR is currently exploiting against US-based organizations. The sanctions come from the Treasury Department, and they include several Russian companies for their involvement in, quote, harmful activities with the SVR, Russia's Federal Security Service, which is the FSB, and Russia's Main Intelligence Directorate, or the GRU. These include ERA Technopolis, a research and technology park, Passit, Neobit, AST, and Positive Technologies, all of which are IT companies that had alleged involvement, and SVA, which is a Russian state-owned research institute. The sanctions mean no U.S. companies can do business without them applying for a specific license with OFAC, or the Office of Foreign Assets Control. According to these documents, these companies have worked closely with the Russian government to supply offensive hacking tools and reconnaissance operations. To further impose costs on Russia, the US government is also expelling 10 Russian officials from DC. The White House also named several Russian firms involved in disinformation campaigns, including Southfront, who alleged voter fraud in 2020, and Newsfront, who spreads misinformation about vaccines. Also sanctioned were some Russian cryptocurrencies as well. The 5 vulnerabilities mentioned all have CVEs and patches. These include flaws within the Fortinet FortiGate VPN, Synagor Zimbra Collaboration Suite, Pulse Secure Pulse Connect Secure VPN, Citrix Application Delivery Controller and Gateway, and VMware Workspace ONE Access. The NSA recommends updating and patching those systems, disabling remote management capabilities, block unused protocols, and prepping for incident response in the event a hack actually happens. Big shout out to my Hush Puppy Perk level patrons for sharing their fur baby photos, like these ones, and for the support. And a quick shout out to David M, Pixelbit, Eric D, and Randall A for joining the ThreatWire Alliance, and as always for supporting the show. Also, I have some big news which I teased at the beginning of this episode. Thanks to the ThreatWire Alliance on Patreon, I will be starting an audio podcast to coincide with ThreatWire. I'm so excited. I have wanted to do this for years, so I seriously cannot wait to get this started. The timing of hitting this goal is really great too, since construction on my basement studio is ongoing right now. So I'm planning to introduce this new podcast when I'm moving into the new studio, which will happen in probably a month or so. That gives me plenty of time to figure out guest interviews, guest hosting, figure out a name for the podcast. So if you have any ideas of people you want to see on the future audio podcast, put them down in the comments down below and I will definitely read those. Also, that's not all. Patreon exclusive merch has just been unlocked as well. That means that current patrons as well as new folks will now have access to physical merchandise on an ongoing basis. I can't wait to start introducing exclusive designs just for my ThreatWire Alliance on Patreon. Now's a really good time to join if you haven't already, because you will automatically have access to those perks as soon as they are unlocked. So check the Patreon page for more details, and on to the third news story. Now, you will probably have something to say about this. Last Tuesday, we learned that the FBI was given special approval to basically pop into computers all around the United States to remove web shells that were left on vulnerable Microsoft Exchange servers. These web shells were originally left there by attackers in January and February to allow for persistent access. Since the Exchange server hacks and attacks have become so well known, much of the vulnerable systems have already been patched. But hundreds of unpatched systems have not been mitigated. So the FBI took this very unprecedented approach, but it was very legal, to remove the shells on these vulnerable machines. Now, the DOJ posted this news saying that the FBI's intrusion into these already hacked machines was totally court authorized, allowing them to copy and remove the malicious shells from hundreds of PCs running Microsoft Exchange server on premises. They copied the web shells as evidence, and they removed them, stating that users may not have the technical ability to find and remove them on their own. The web shells are difficult to find due to their unique file names and paths, stated the FBI. In order to delete the web shells off of these machines, the FBI issued a command through the web shell to the server designed to cause the server to delete only the web shell. They did not patch the vulnerable machines or search for or remove any malware or hacking tools that could have potentially been distributed while the machines remained unpatched. So the DOJ is encouraging admins to use Microsoft's remediation to detect and patch these issues. Now, here's the thing. The FBI hacked into vulnerable machines without users knowing about it. without users knowing about it. They kept this search warrant sealed until the operation was complete so that it wouldn't compromise any of this operation. Now, the FBI is attempting to provide notice of this operation to owners and operators of these machines, but if there is no publicly available contact information, they have to rely on just the victim's ISP to hopefully get word to these networks that they gained access to delete these web shells. So my question for you is, actually I have a few questions. How do you feel about this? Is the FBI pulling a vigilante effort here by saving the day, or is this a huge privacy concern that our government is using search warrants to remotely, legally access networks that do not belong to them? If a citizen did this in a good-hearted attempt to stop the bleeding, would they not be jailed for hacking? Does this set a precedent for future large-scale vulnerabilities like these ones with Exchange? Lots of questions here, and I would love to know what you think about them. Now, I've got a video all about facial recognition coming up over on youtube.com/Shannon Morse, so check it out if you want to. You can subscribe to my channel while you're there for more of that kind of content. And with that, do not forget to like and subscribe. I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you on the internet.